What will the Raptors do this offseason? How close will this Wizards Celtics series get? Can the Spurs slow down the Rockets? The only question left is, say it with me, you in? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. And we're also broadcasting live on Periscope right now, and thanks for joining us. As always, I'm joined by Coach Dave Dufour, and he's in studio. It's always great to have him in person. We're going to try doing a pod in real life, which is exciting. A lot of basketball over the last couple of days, Dave.
Yeah.
And a lot to talk about. So I guess we should kind of jump in here, right? Are you enjoying your time in LA, by the way?
Oh, wow. I love LA. LA is fantastic. I did not mute my watch. But yeah, LA is fantastic. It's a great place. And I've had some weird weather. So that's interesting, right? Like all this rain since I've been here.
Yep.
Is pretty great. But we did have great steak last night, Taylor's Steakhouse.
Yep, and great pizza tonight. And just really the diet is not helping me right now.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. Well, when I'm in town, we'll blow out our diet and we'll get back on it when we leave.
Okay, great. Well, here we are, and let's get into some of these games because yesterday we had a couple. We had one. The Warriors
and Jazz, and George Hill for the Jazz. I just they don't really stand much of a chance against the Warriors. They did keep it close until the end, but yeah, I mean the Warriors are the Warriors, and I mean they're going to sweep this series, and I don't know if anyone's going to beat them in the postseason. Yeah,
and they had an off shooting night, and they finally kind of got it on track enough at the end to just win going away, and that's what you got to hope for. And certainly a lot of the shots, like Steph didn't make a three for a while, and they were all good shots though. So it wasn't like a lot of them were. Some of them were just sort of forced. Like I've missed a few shots, I'm just going to have to take one and hope it goes in to get me going. But yeah, they have too much. The speed is again, like we said, too much for the Jazz. And without George Hill to help them, sort of control the tempo a little bit better, and another defender they can use out there. Yeah, it's kind of a hopeless cause. It's one of those things where they got to the second round. It's good experience for the Jazz. They should be able to build on this. And then the only question now is like, what's this team going to look like, going forward?
I mean, they could be losing George Hill. They could be losing Gordon Hayward. They may trade Derek Favors. It definitely could be a completely different team by next season.
Yeah, which is almost like too bad because you think their trajectory is they're forging their identity, they're learning how to play together under duress, and that you come back ready to go. But it's a weird mixture of sort of like older veterans like the Diaws and Joe Johnsons with these younger guys. It's kind of an interesting span. It just doesn't seem like they're built to like grow together.
I mean, when they were putting this team together, they didn't know Rudy Gobert was going to be Rudy Gobert. I don't know, I think they thought Alec Burks was going to be more than what he is. So they've got some money in some weird places.
Right.
Favors and Burks and these guys that really aren't going to be key pieces. You hope that Trey Lyle is going to turn into something. Dante Exum. They've got some really interesting pieces. It's just what's going to happen this summer.
Right. And Dante Exum never quite got on track this year, and I think they have a lot of high hopes for him. And quite frankly, I haven't seen much to really feel like he's going to be aggressive enough and confident enough to really do it. But who knows if it's just like still overcoming the knee, missing that first year, and he'll hit the ground running with a better or different role.
Not being able to shoot.
And not being able to shoot. Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because you can see it in the way they play, and it affects the entire game. I don't think it affects the defensive side necessarily, but there's something about it, the offense, that you just know they can back off of him, and he's a little hesitant, and it's frustrating. So the only question is, can he improve that? And it probably is the one thing that players do improve, but it seems like it's later in their career.
Yeah, and then on the other side, the other bench, the Warriors. It seems like their biggest question mark is Steve Kerr. Mm-hmm. Probably, our guess is that he had a back procedure done the other day. My guess would be that he's probably done for the playoffs, and who knows what that means for next season. Like we hope the best, and that he comes back healthy and able to do stuff. But it's not a great situation. And you and I have talked extensively about the difference from going from Steve Kerr to Mike Brown, and it's more in-game adjustment things than the big picture stuff. It's just the little things that Steve Kerr maybe has a better feel for with this team than Mike Brown, and that puts him at a bit of a disadvantage. But I don't know that that's even going to come into play. They're just so good.
Right. I don't know if it will either. It's unfortunate. It's Steve Kerr's baby. This is his vision. This is the team that they put together for him to guide, and everything they do is based on what he developed. So it's just it's just hopefully they'll figure it out. It sounds like they figure it out, then the symptoms go away and he's fine. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
But who knows when that happens. So so going forward, they're going to be looking at either playing, we just had a game tonight between the Spurs and the Rockets, and I think they're going to have the benefit of a lot of rest.
Yeah.
Because I think the Rockets and Spurs are going to go 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly are neck and neck, although the games aren't close.
Right.
Every game in the second round so far has been decided by over 10 points.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're up to how many games? 3, 4. Yeah, we're up to 14 games decided by 10 points or more.
Okay. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah, and that's so each team has their own hopes, and they hit them here and they got them back. It's interesting. So we pretty much have it solidified at this point with with the Warriors getting through, and we're going to figure out what's going on there. And let's flip over to the first game today, just to talk about that for a minute, which would be the first game was Celtics and the
no, it was Cavs.
Oh, Cavs
Raptors.
Okay, so we got to that one. So we had that. That's the number 2 versus number. What were the Raptors? 3?
They were the 3 seed.
So yes, and so it was a sweep, a really big step back, a real big problem because they didn't have Kyle Lowry. But do we really think they had a chance with Kyle Lowry?
No.
I mean, he played the first 2 games.
Yeah, you and I, we were dead wrong on this. We thought getting P.J. Tucker, getting Serge Ibaka would really help them, but their defense was really bad, and they weren't able to take advantage of Cleveland's poor defense.
Right.
They weren't attacking in transition. They weren't making shots, and we've talked about this. I feel like this is like if you had the B-Ball Breakdown podcast drinking game.
Right.
Now's the time to drink. Because we're going to talk about how the Raptors offense only generates really tough looks.
Yeah.
Those mid-rangers that, people used to love. And so, when you get to the playoffs and your rotation's shortened and guys are maybe getting a little bit more tired in game and the defense is tightening up, those looks that were tough in the regular season are now nearly impossible.
Right. Yeah, and because it's better defenders, more pressure. And also, the biggest problem I had was, okay, fine, they want to take tough shots. This is what they do. They were good at them, fine. But they did not attack in the half court where they needed to, and primarily Kevin Love. And they actually did get Serge Ibaka jump shots that were sort of out of tertiary action after the fact that worked, and he nailed them, but it was like Serge Ibaka is a fantastic pick and pop guy. Fantastic. And they never did it. Like almost like they tried to do the opposite. Like I don't know what they were thinking or what they wanted to do, but it was the opposite of what they could have done to get him involved. And so Kevin Love gets a free pass, and so they're not scoring there. And then they couldn't stop him at all either. That was the other problem. The defense wasn't good. Now, Ibaka has individual defensive abilities and he can cover sometimes, but he's not the anchor of the defense. And as a result, it was just a really bad matchup for them. They couldn't do it. And I mean, frankly, they were never going to do it. There's a ceiling to this team with Lowry and with DeRozan. I hate to say it, but it is. And we've seen it, and they've hit it.
Yeah, I think that you just kind of hit the nail on the head. And Lowry is a free agent. Ibaka is a free agent. Although I think Ibaka stays. I think he's more definite to stay than Lowry.
Yeah. I wouldn't stay if I were Lowry. I wouldn't want to stick around and play alongside DeRozan, to be honest with you.
I would split if I was him. But, they're going to also have a very interesting summer.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, with Toronto, you stay in Toronto, you pay more tax.
That's right.
So I know it doesn't make up for like the extra year or this and that, whatever, but it probably ends up being somewhat of a consideration.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's sort of like playing in Texas or Miami. Like, is it enough that you are you saving enough money that it makes sense to go there because of the money? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. But when you talk about saving some money, you know what it reminds me of, Dave, don't you?
Harry's Razors.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I'm staring at your dome and you're finally in my, in our studios, and it's a really great shave, and you actually use it to shave your head, don't you?
I do, and most blades only give me 1, maybe 2 shaves, and I'm managing to get like 5 or 6 shaves out of Harry's Razors. They're German engineered.
Yeah, and it's great because it's a company. These 2 dudes decided to like buy a factory and make these blades, and it's actually like you can like save almost like 50% off of any kind of blades you might buy in the drugstore. So you should really check out harrys.com/Coach Nick, because if you do, they'll get you a trial set for free. And it's an awesome set where you get like razor blade, the blade handle, 4 blades, shaving cream. It's really great. And then after shaving cream gel that really makes your skin feel really smooth. So I can't get over I seriously can't get over how good it really is.
Absolutely. I love Harry's Razors.
Right. And so remember, if you can go to harrys.com/Coach Nick, you'll really, you'll have a great shave, and you'll be able to deliver them to your door. Because it's that weird thing, when you want to buy razors at a drugstore, you have to ask somebody to open up the case for you and all that stuff. You don't want to do that. So have them deliver them right to your door, save a ton of money. harrys.com/Coach Nick, and get that good shave.
But so to the Cavs look pretty good. I mean, LeBron is head and shoulders above everybody else in the playoffs right now. Mm-hmm. He's just been outstanding, hitting the 3. He started to hit the free throws, after struggling in the first round. They're going to sweep until the finals, right? They're going to sweep the next round.
Wait, we're talking about the Cavs?
Talking about the Cavs.
No, you don't think that one of these 2 teams can get him?
I don't know. All right, so let's talk. I guess let's talk about the Celtics and Wizards.
Okay.
Okay, so the Celtics are lucky to have not been swept in this series.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they stole those 2 games at home, overcoming huge deficits. And I think the Wizards are a better team, and maybe they figured something out and figured out how to hold on to these leads.
Yeah, they've had these huge runs in almost every game now, and they're effectively ending the game with those. And the one they had the 22-0 run in the first quarter. Like the Celtics gave up, even though it was even for the rest of the game. They pretty much gave up. They didn't have any kind of energy to try and get back in it. And then, that 26-0 run. I mean, it was insane. The turnovers that the Celtics were committing. Some of them were a little handsy, foul. They didn't call whatever down the road, but it was just a barrage. And so, in the context of looking at how fast the Wizards can score, that's the Achilles heel. That should be a big thing for the Cavs, an issue. So that's why I think, they're going to get a game. They might get like 2 games, I would think.
I don't know, man. The Cavs are looking really good. And it's going to be tough, right? The Wizards definitely match up better than the Celtics. If the Celtics somehow win this series against the Wizards, I think it's definitely a sweep. I think the Wiz could probably take a game, maybe 2 from the Cavs, but the Cavs are definitely or the Wiz are definitely a worse matchup for the Cavaliers. But going back to this series with the Celtics are they the weakest 1 seed that you can remember?
Yeah. Someone asked me that the other day, and I was like, I never really thought about it because that's a weird designation to be the number 1 seed and to rate them. But certainly in win total, it's probably as low as it's been in a long time, right? And then. They're not really that good of a team. They have Isaiah Thomas, who is a singular scorer. His defense isn't as bad, I don't think, as we all might think individually. But, there's just something there that that's lacking, I think. And, certainly it's not the coaching side. They have a very solid foundation.
And they have good players.
Yeah.
There's something missing. You and I have talked a lot about the creation issue and relying so much on Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Right? Like not having a secondary creator. You look at Houston, it feels like everybody on the court can create.
Right.
Harden creates. Pat Beverly creates.
Like Ariza.
Eric Gordon. Ariza, tonight was just insane. Lou Williams. They got 5 guys that can legitimately go out there and get a shot. And so, does Boston have a second one?
No. I mean, no, Horford maybe like with his back to the basket.
He's getting shots for other people, but he's not getting his own.
Right, and and that's not his thing. You're right. So they've kind of assembled this team, which so and it makes sense to me now looking at it, which I might not have been as receptive of it, but like that's why they would need that like aggressive second guy. It to me is like they need that star, and it's like it might be a star or just might be like an aggressive. Like does DeMar DeRozan be like a guy that like sort of gives them what they need too?
I don't know.
Something.
I don't know if he fits there, but I get what you're getting at.
They
could take one of those next tier guys.
And by the way, would DeMar DeRozan be even better in a motion offense that actually helps him create? And then maybe he would be able to shoot some threes. But again, we all know that his mechanics are such that he likes to hang a little bit, hits a 2-motion shot. It's just hard to imagine him ever getting like 36, 37% even. Right, I'm not wrong. He's shooting way below that, I'm assuming.
But one of the things, and I've talked about this before, I think that he doesn't shoot enough threes. I think if he just shot them more, he would probably shoot a higher percentage. Like he shoots like 28%, but he's only shooting like maybe 1.7 a game or something like that. Maybe. So if he just shot 4 a game, I feel like he'd hit 30. You know? But even just shooting them when they're there means that they have to guard you.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point he's not going to. I mean, I don't know. I guess Powell started shooting threes late in his career, but it seems like if he would have already done it. But again, and it goes to coaching.
Yeah.
They got Marc Gasol to start shooting threes, and the coaching said they will really help him. We spread the floor. Well, why can't you get these guys? And that's the other thing is it seems like there's a real coaching issue on the Raptors. To get back to the Raptors really quickly is that it's just Dwayne Casey doesn't seem to know or understand or know how to communicate a better system of basketball for them to play. I believe that this team could have played better with a different coach.
Well, they could also have played better with a different player. We'd be remiss if we didn't bring up DeMar DeRozan's comments about having LeBron James on their team.
Right.
A lot of people are taking this as I don't know, some kind of sign of weakness or whatever. But, there's nothing wrong with recognizing that LeBron James is the best player in the league, right? Like, that's not a bad thing.
No.
Being self-aware is good. How do you get better if you're not self-aware? Like, if you don't know what your weaknesses are, you can't work on them. So,
and he's frustrated, and they finish, and they're frustrated because it's an immovable force that they couldn't handle. So of course, it was a weird. I would like to know what the question was that kind of prompted that answer, but at the very least, it was just a thing that he said, and I don't think it means much to be read into. But yes, of course, anybody's team that you put LeBron on, it will probably win the title. Like that's, if you're making the playoffs and you can add LeBron to that, then you're going to probably be the favorite or the second best favorite, like they are now. And it is what it is. I wouldn't read too much into it, but But still, again, does Lowry want to take exception to that and say, no, man, we don't need him. We're going to be able to, we want to beat him. We want to, whatever. And then I'm out of here because of that. Who knows? It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. All right, so Spurs Rockets, the game that just sort of finished up.
And our friend of the program, Ryan Blake, wants to really hear about when they were playing Anderson at the 5.
Yeah. All right. So I brought that up to you, and you couldn't remember it, but. Anderson at the 5, and then they basically got him, Ariza, Harden, Gordon, and Beverly, and it's just, man, that is on fire. I need to dig into the numbers to see what their offensive rating is, but it feels like it's like 150.
Yeah, and to me, it's like it's Harden at the 4.
Yeah,
I know it's it's Anderson at the 5, but it's Harden at the 4. And by the way, Anderson would conceivably be the best shooting 5. Like in the league,
sure,
right? Yeah. Even better, like the Embiid and the Karl-Anthony Towns who shoot pretty well. Like Anderson's a different level.
Yeah,
and it seemed like a war of like who can go smaller tonight,
right?
And that was really kind of fascinating
to
watch.
They matched him up. Pop matched him up with David Lee, and I just thought that was so frustrated with Greg Popovich, man. Like Dwayne Dedmon can't get in until the game is out of hand. Mm-hmm. He won't play Aldridge with all these athletic guys.
Yeah.
He ran out what was really close to my dream lineup. He had Patty Mills, he had Danny Green, he had Simmons, and he had Kawhi Leonard. But at center, he had David Lee.
Yeah.
It's
hard to believe.
I can't wrap my head around that. Put in Aldridge, or put in anybody else. I even said, well, play Kawhi at the 5. and bring in Kyle Anderson to play the 4, or
right.
Anybody else. But David Lee,
let Simmons play the 4 and play the 5. I mean, that's, by the way, I think, is that where we're heading? We're going to have
Murray,
Yeah, we're going to have a longer stretches of time of these hyper smaller and smaller lineups. That might be where the future is. And by the way, that's interesting because the big men, it's kind of like extinct, and that's why the big men have had to go and develop other skills, like guard skills, to be able to play. Otherwise, we'd trot out 5 guys who are about 6'6" each, and let it go.
It's one of the mistakes I think OKC made this year, was not playing Robertson enough at the 4 and kind of stretching everyone else around him. Because he showed last year in the playoffs he could play the 4.
Yeah,
no problem.
Okay,
he still can't shoot, but
here's my thing. I think about NBA coaches, I truly get the sense that there's not a whole lot of lineup data attention. I truly don't know if they really pay attention. Like I've heard coaches talk about like certain lineups they're looking forward to play like in the future in the preseason. Oh, we want to get this lineup like 20 minutes a game. And they don't realize that like most lineups, the most played minutes per game is like maybe like 16 a game. And like here's a special lineup we want to use about 20 minutes a game. Like wouldn't even be the most played, and like they don't even get a handle on that. And that makes me think you're not looking at the 5-man lineup data very much. And if I had the kind of data they had, at my level, it would be like that's all I'd be looking at. And because it's already so hard to figure out who to play with whom, and then alchemy. It's like if you're not going to use numbers and the net ratings of these lineups to help you, then I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, the analytics are starting to get into the coaching, right? Like it's happening. It's a real thing, but there's definitely some like hyper specialized stuff, like the lineup data, which you would think would just be automatic, common sense, useful stuff. It's not fully embraced. And I mean, like again, man, Pop is the greatest coach in the history of basketball. He's the best. But the idea that I just don't know what it is about him that makes him want to trust David Lee to guard Ryan Anderson.
Yeah. And I wonder if there's a question that you can ask Pop about it that wouldn't infuriate him so much.
You have to do it in a weird way. Bill Simmons made a great point about this on the Ring on the Bill Simmons podcast the other day, where he was talking about getting weird with the questions and like, if you had to describe how your offense was going as a wine, what would it be? Right? Like, and I was like, you know what? That he's onto something there. And that's so it's sort of like, if David Lee was a protagonist from a book, what book would he be? And,
I would not have the balls to do it that way, but you never know. Like, if it's on a TV interview, like, when he's in front, or if it's a scrum where there's just audio, I don't know. That's ballsy to even try that. Like, I'd have to have had a relationship with him, I suppose. Yeah. But, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's really fascinating.
Can you answer that question?
What?
If David Lee was a character from a book,
the Confederacy of Dunces, would he be no? I don't know. Lenny from A Mice and Men. I don't know. Who would David Lee be for you?
I don't know. I don't think he would be. I think he would be like some side character that got no time.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's like the Star Trek guy who gets killed in the first 5 minutes.
Right, he's a red shirt for sure, but he's like no effect on the outcome. The only effect he could have is negative. So it's almost like at this point, because he was good this season. I want to give him credit for that, but he's been bad in the playoffs. And I would. I don't know.
Watson's sidekick. That's actually really good.
Yeah, so, he'd be the sidekick. Yeah,
to the sidekick. Yeah,
that's a good one. Shout out to Luz La Luna in the Periscope chat there.
Yeah.
So I just think, I mean, again, Pop is kind of killing both of us with these weird lineups, and we talked today at lunch about Dwayne Dedman, and like we were like, there must be something behind the scenes, and it's impossible for us to speculate. But I just don't see him coming back next year.
Yeah.
They might lose Jonathan Simmons. They might lose Patty Mills. They may try to trade Aldridge. Manu is probably retiring. Tony Parker's not coming back. Pau Gasol can opt out. I mean, if all of these things happen, it might be best case scenario, because they could go out and they can grab guys, like they'll have free agent money.
Right.
But
well, they have free agent money anyway, right? With Manu and Parker retire.
Yes.
And that should be enough to get a good.
like I think it's about $18 million.
Oh yeah, so they get the second tier or whatever, which would be fine to pair with Aldridge and Kawhi.
But remember,
you're right. It's not.
Patty
it's not
Mills
CP3
is getting
money.
16 mil.
Right. It's not CP3 money. It's not even Lowry money.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
And
but,
for all the people that think Chris Paul in San Antonio makes any sense,
I'm telling you, I think he could do it. He's that good. But, you're right. The way he plays today
his personality, man. Like, he's got, like, people don't like to play with him. Yeah, and, how's that going to do in your culture? Now, if he comes in and embraces the culture, okay, maybe it's fine. But we don't have any evidence of that. Right. Not to mention that Chris Paul just campaigned to have the rules changed, and he can take a 5-year, $204 million contract from the Clippers. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't pass that up.
Right.
Oh,
I hear you.
Get those rings.
And they, question came in like, well, what about his assistants? Aren't they the ones who can like suggest things? And who knows? It gets dictated from the top on how you approach these things, and it could very well be that like they're not looking at it. I mean, listen, of course they're looking at it, right? There's no way that these NBA teams with all the streams of data and whatever are not like looking at the 5-man lineup, net rotation, net rating, right? Like, there's no way. But it just seems like there's a lack of sort of understanding and grasping of that and how they can use it. Now, these games go by so fast, and next thing you know, you're in the fourth quarter and you haven't run the one play you've been working on. And I get it, that all happens, or foul trouble or whatever, and then or injury, and now your lineups are already screwed up. So that's also a factor. But obviously, we're second guessing when those are not the factors tonight. And the Rockets can just get going, and it doesn't matter if they're on the road. It looks like, they did it already once in San Antonio, and so that's got to be a really grave concern. Did we cover all of them now? Is that the last 5?
That was it. That's all the games.
3 and 4, the last 4 games we've had. Okay, wow.
Yeah, we killed it.
A whirlwind. But, so we should probably give an overview of like what we think. So we know the Cavs are going to go to the conference finals. Well, they already are.
Right.
We know that the Warriors are
they're on their way. And
we just now need to figure out 7 games, Wizards, Celtics probably.
I think it's going to go 7. I think the Wizards are going to pull it out.
Yeah, and then the Cavs are going to be so well rested they'll be up 3-0 before they lose the game. On the flip side, Warriors same way, because this is going 7-2.
And this is going to be a freaking war.
Yeah, and like we saw, Harden got injured a little bit. These guys are going to be nicked up. Nene might, who knows what's going to steal.
Groin injury.
Yeah, that's going to be a lingering one. That's really, really going to hurt the Rock. He was playing so well tonight too. So that's a coin flip. And by the way, I would say if Nene goes down, the Spurs advance.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It still could be like
Although
7.
they still, the game was close after he went out. And then they just turned it on. I don't know. I think it's going to go 7. I can't pick a winner. I cannot pick a winner. I just
after
can't.
whoever wins game 5.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to look at it. If they alternate from here on out,
Right, I used to say whoever wins 2 games in a row first wins that series. And it used to be almost like 100% of the time. But then in the last, since the 3-point era, of the dawn of the 3-point era, it hasn't been as a rock solid of an indication. So, but I do feel like the game 5 winner still is.
Yeah, especially, the Spurs are going to be home for games 5 and 7, or potential game 7.
Yeah,
and that's a huge advantage for them. So, the Spurs have the advantage going in to the last 3 games as the home team.
Right.
But who knows what happens, man.
It's pretty crazy. Should we take some questions from Periscope if we have any?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's go over there and see. We have a nice solid core group late night here with us. And, as we start to wrap up our podcast, what do you guys think of Lowry and Powell back to the Grizzlies? That's interesting. Is Powell, his contract is not up, is it?
Well, he could opt out.
Oh, okay.
I don't see it happening, though.
Yeah, because right. I think he probably loves San Antonio.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no inside information on that.
Right. Even the teammates and playing with Manu and Tony.
Remember he signed with Chicago because he wanted to be in a big city. Now, San Antonio or Memphis are not. Neither of those are big cities.
Well, but it's also coming home for him from Memphis.
It would be, and his brother's there.
Yeah.
And they could play together. They actually would work pretty well on offense.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wouldn't overlook that. That'd be really interesting.
Now Kyle doesn't make any sense because they just signed Conley to that 5-year, $134 million. So
right. Rudy Gay, I don't even know if he's
Rudy Gay. He's opting in to his contract because he tore his Achilles. Yep.
Oh right. How well does Boogie fit with? Oh, it disappeared. Did you see it?
How well does Boogie fit with the Pelicans versus the Kings? I don't think he fits with the Pelicans at all. And as a matter of fact, don't be shocked if they try to move him.
Yeah.
Around the draft.
Well, they certainly didn't play any better when he got there. Well, even though it was, it's hard when you throw a guy like that in the middle of the season.
Sure.
But right,
Anthony Davis was a lot better with him off the court.
Yeah.
So that's a thing going forward. I don't know. I don't know how much they love Boogie there, and I wouldn't be shocked if they try to move him at the draft. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions here? They traded their whole team. Where's Blake going? I think he's going back home. OKC?
What?
Blake Griffin?
No, I don't know about that.
You don't think
he can get the most money if he stays in LA? And remember, the Clippers don't have a path to a rebuild.
Yeah.
So it's in their best interest to sign these guys to as much money as they can, right? So
okay.
I think that we see them sign them and then possibly trade them, after December 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Dennis Smith? I have all of his clips queued up. I need to do an edit on him. So.
All right. Well, I've seen Dennis Smith in person.
Yeah.
And he's a freak athlete, and he's now even farther removed from that ACL surgery.
Okay.
He's got like Russell Westbrook type athleticism, but with a much better jump shot. So we'll see what happens in the NBA. Problem is that NC State didn't really run anything. And so, we'll see what happens when it comes to NBA, but I expect he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. I have it all ready to go. I've watched very little. I gotta get back in my mind's eye. Let's see. Does Boston trade for a superstar on draft night, or do they keep their pick? Like, I don't know. I mean, at this point, maybe they just keep the pick, and if it's not one or two, maybe they keep it, and then they can trade it after the draft if they want.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they might have missed their window on getting high value for those draft picks.
Who knows? And now the problem is they have too many draft picks, right? They're going to have too many. They can't sign them all.
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget they've got Ante Zizic, who's over in the Adriatic League, killing it. He's coming over next year. He's going to be great. They've got Yabusele, who's playing. He played in France, and then he came over and played with the Maine Red Claws in the D League, and he's awesome.
Okay,
he's a really, really fun player. Like, you would actually like him a lot.
Okay.
Highly recommend digging up some tape. So they've got like these other young guys, and I mean Rozier needs more minutes.
Rozier, it's been a revelation to me in the postseason.
And, well, this is part of why, and people are this is gonna seem controversial, but it's part of why I'm not opposed to them giving up Isaiah Thomas and trying to get a bigger fish.
Now, Jaylen Brown's not hurt, right?
No, he's playing.
But not a lot. I feel like I don't see him as much.
No, he's playing a little bit more now than he was. Look, Jaylen Brown is going to be really good.
Yeah,
to me, he's untouchable for them.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade him unless you're getting like him and maybe like that next year's Nets pick for like Jimmy Butler.
Right. Yeah, no,
I
know.
Jaylen's going to be good. He's going to be like a top 25 player in a few years.
Yeah, so they have a very bright future. It's a question of like which players they want to put together and how it works.
Well, do they want to take a little miniature step back for like the next year or two, and maybe not, maybe not be as competitive, maybe not be a top 4 seed, maybe be a 6 seed with the young guys, right? And use like Horford and Smart and Crowder and Bradley and Olenek to help bolster the young guys while they're learning. This is where, again, I would try to move Isaiah Thomas. He's fantastic, but he's last year's the last year of his cheap deal. He's going to get a lot of money, and I don't want to pay him that because he's a small guard and he's going to get old on that next contract, and I don't trust it.
Right.
But also, you might bait a team into giving you a good young piece that goes well with the other young pieces that you have. And the next thing you know, you're looking like the Bucks and the Timberwolves, and
Yeah.
But you're better because you've got Al Horford and you've got Jay Crowder and.
Right. The funny thing about like a guy like Isaiah Thomas is that traditionally in the league, he has been a sixth man, microwave off the bench.
Right.
And, I have to wonder, a lot of those sixth men, if they had ever gotten the opportunity like Isaiah had to start and get those minutes, they probably all would have scored 27 points a game because they did that in the short minutes. They would score like a point a minute when they play off the bench for the 20 minutes. So it's an interesting opportunity he's gotten, and so now he's got the taste of it. He ain't going to want to come off the bench anymore.
No.
And that's what you got to wonder. In a really good team, can he be the starter there? I think he could. I think you could figure out a way to make it work for you and make your defense not that problematic, I think.
Yeah. So if I'm Boston, if we get the number 1 pick, if you get that Nets pick, I'm drafting Markelle Fultz, and I'm trying to move Isaiah Thomas because he's not going to come off the bench, and I want to give the ball to Fultz. I want to let him work.
Yeah.
And and then I'm bringing over Zizic, and I'm putting him next to Horford, and I'm playing Jay Crowder and Avery Bradley, and next thing you know, I've got this crazy team built around a rookie point guard who he might stink sometimes, and he might be electric sometimes.
Right.
But
and he's cheaper.
Your ceiling is high.
He can defend better. I don't like his defense, but he's, at least physically,
he can get there.
He's bigger and he can handle it.
But your ceiling is so much higher.
Yeah.
Right. Like your floor is probably lower, but your potential is just through the roof. So.
Yeah. Well, all right. We have any other questions as we wrap this up?
I think we should wrap this up. I think we're right around 30 minutes.
Is John Wall the second best player in the East, 5th in the scoring this post season?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Russ will leave OKC if he doesn't sign the big contract? No.
I think Russ. There's a chance Russ gets traded.
Wow. Really?
Well, look, Presti has been quick to pull the trigger. Remember this contract that he signed? Like he could opt out after next season. Yeah. So next year is really the last year of that deal. I mean, he's at his peak value right now.
That's fascinating.
And if you're gonna lose him, you should trade him.
Right.
And so I'm sure Presti is kind of like figuring out, hey, are we gonna lose you or whatever?
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be really interesting because they could get a good haul for him now. I mean, a really good haul. And maybe be right back in the thick of things.
Right? Like, would Boston trade the number 1 pick?
Yeah. Boston playing for Brad Stevens in that offense. I mean, Russell Westbrook. I mean,
it'd be incredible. But think about it. Isaiah Thomas, the number 1 pick. Marcus Smart or Jay Crowder. Yeah, I mean, you can put something together.
Yeah.
But that's something to think about. If you guys listen to the pod, if you come up with any good Russ trades, I'd love to hear them.
All right, we'll come back at us
Hit us up on Twitter
and let us know. Well, fantastic show. We went through everything. It was pretty crazy stuff, and it's great to have you here in studio on the Periscope as well. So we will get back at you guys this week with at least a couple more podcasts, and we'll have some really great videos coming up as well. The .com's got plenty of things to go through, and don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.